who are going to be presenting, and two or three of them have been recorded already because they're different parts of the world and logistics, prevent them from being live. But that's totally fine. So over the course of the week, we're going to have Valerie Menkoff, Heathcliff O'Malley, Sasha Maslov, Paula Bronstein, Tom Warburton, Michael Bronstein, and tonight we have Evgeniy Maloletka. And I must tell you and warn you, some of the images are going to be extremely graphic, more than we've seen before in all the other episodes. So that's just to prepare you. And he actually will tell you that some of these images will be graphic. So you'll see that. There's also going to be a slight jump in the tape because at some point while we were talking, he got a call from one of the defense departments about getting access to a particular place the following day. So we had to stop the recording there. Well, we didn't stop it, but we've cut it out because that couldn't be released. So hopefully we'll see everybody during the week intermittently, or if you could be here every night, that's great. And tell folks. So Jay, when you're ready, we could hit the button. I want to thank Evgeniy Maloletka for coming in and recording with us one more time. This, I think, is your second time presenting with us. And since the last time we spoke, you've won the Pulitzer Prize, which is wonderful news for the incredible work that you're doing. So share your screen and we can start.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay, so, yeah, you're full screen now. You're great. Off you go.
Okay. Thanks for inviting again. So, now I am based in Ukraine, and actually, sometimes like you want to go and do one story, and the morning news ruined your plans and move you to the different part of the country. That's happened to me on the 6th of June, when Kakhovka Dam was exploded, and southern and I don't know, like one of the biggest reservoirs in Ukraine start flooding all like Kherson region, and it flooded many houses. The islands included Kherson, Oleshki, Holopristan, and occupied and the government control areas as well. From that picture, you see how on the first days Kakhovka Dam looks like after explosion, and the southern of liter, like millions, I think billions of liters of water of moving from from the reservoir.
And is this shot with a drone, or are you in a helicopter, or what?
No. This is for your understanding. One side, it's a Dnipro River is dividing the front line. On the one side, it's the Russian forces. On another side is Ukrainian forces.
Right.
And the Kakhovka Dam was in the middle. So one of the sides, blaming each other that they destroyed the dam, but it's obvious who did it,
Yeah.
And the ruined infrastructure in Ukraine.
And how did you photograph this?
We were able to join soldiers who were doing monitoring the other side, like with Ukrainian armed forces. We were moved to one of the villages, and flew around like 5 or 6 kilometers over the river to get this shot.
Wow.
It was not easy, like, because you need to hide, you need to move yourself, not identifiable, because all of the time the drones are moving around, and you cannot be there and pretending like to be the locals and etc. So for this is the picture which showed the war crime, what's happened on the first days of the floods, but and how afterwards, that this accident will influence of all of the country, because of the farming, as well, ecology, and etc. etc. So, and how many people were killed because of the water. Like this lady, like trying to rescue their dogs, and from this house. Later, that house was totally flooded. That was on the first day, totally till the roof.
Wow.
This is the same street on the few days later. The water up for more than like 4 meters. So like all the streets became like Venice. And so like everything was flooded. So, and the only way to move was to use in a boat. So, and many people were stuck on the roofs, and as how like people who have a boats, volunteers, and the rescue service started evacuating people on the roof. And as well was a big rescue operation for animal evacuation, because in Kherson itself, not so many people were lived, but many people were take care about the houses, and they left their dogs, to for example, to protect their houses and etc. So they didn't leave, but they moved to different parts of the city. All the neighbors were looking for their houses. So, and many dogs were staying there. So like it was a huge number of animals whom the people left in their houses.
To protect it. Wow.
Yes. Because Kherson itself, it's very close to the front line. It was around like 5 or 4 kilometers. So it's a mortar distance where they can hit. So like, and not so many people will live there. Many elderly people who don't have a possibilities, to evacuate earlier, or they decided to stay. So there was people who were like decided to stay, and they were trapped by the water.
And was this something that the military was thinking might happen, or this really came out of the blue? Like nobody would imagine he would do this.
Actually, I was as well, like all of us knew that Kakhovka Dam was mined before. So like, and all the sides knew that in some time that could happen. And as well, Ukrainian armed forces, they knew that it could happen, but
Yeah,
of
yeah.
course, I don't know, like why Ukraine need to explore their dam and to ruin their own infrastructure. So it's very stupid, but what I think in that when the counteroffensive started, like because it was happened on the beginning of the summer, when Ukraine announced the counteroffensive and they start moving forces in the Zaporizhia direction. Here we see another maneuver by the Russian forces, how they did it. So like, and And of course, nobody expected, from Ukrainian side, as we saw.
Yeah.
So that, like, all the volunteers try to searching there is in Kherson itself, they have an island with many residential houses and big apartment blocks, and many people were staying there and decided, some of them decided to evacuate, some of them not, and many volunteers come with the boats, to evacuate people, to save dogs, etc. So like it was thousands of dogs were evacuated from that areas. And I knew that they give a statistic that around like 2,000 people were evacuated only from government side.
And in this part of, does Ukraine have sort of like what we have as like a coast guard, like something that like they were ready to go with boats and all of that, or they had to get that equipment there?
As give you understanding that the river, yes,
Yep.
it's the gray zone between the sides.
Right.
That's and for all the forces, like using the boats to attack their positions by boats. So it's in Kherson itself and all of the area, it's a boat operation, but as well like artillery, like usual, but as well they moving their post by boats and going from one side to another one and fighting by boats with the special forces. So it's not easy, they're fighting in the night and they're doing the special forces operation like most of the time. So it's not easy. As you see, like it's in Kherson, it's a government control site. You see a trade port which were flooded, and all of its many thousands liters of oil come to the river. So maybe on the picture itself, it's not so visual, but later you will see from the drone how the area was flooded. So, and as well, like with the rescue service, with the volunteers come, and trying to evacuate people. So, and all of the collaboration, like it was a bit chaotic, but many people, like were using the opportunity to leave that area because you don't have a clean water, you don't have like any heating, you cannot prepare the food, etc. So that, and especially that all the water was oily. And if you will swim in that water, later you will be, like super dirty and you cannot clean yourself after this.
Wow.
Yeah, it's all the downtown of Kherson was like this, and now we see. So, of course, water went to the sea, but as well, it's ruined thousands of houses and many properties were destroyed. And this is the area of Kherson, and all of them. This is the island, as you see, with multi-story buildings and the stadium over here, trade port, and you see this oil site, how the oil were moved, and how many boats were used for the rescue operations to save people, dogs, and etc. So all this area here, like, and for the on the north, like on the picture, or on the upper side, it's a gray zone between the sides. So as you see, it's very close. Was like it's a mortar distance, and all the sides will use their opportunity to move their forces close to each other. Like evacuation of the kids and the families. And sometimes the river was so fast that what I saw how they were moving the houses or the part of the islands by the river. You see, like the the houses of moving by the river,
Yeah.
or the big trees, like with part of the islands, like it's huge area.
Wow. And can you speak a little bit to like the spirit of the people? Like, like now now we're in the water and we're fighting this war. Is there any fatigue? Like any like when is enough enough?
You know, as long as it takes, the brutal it will be. You know, now, as I told you, we're expecting this, that it could happen.
Yeah.
And we have a nuclear power station, which is located as well on the front line. And we as well preparing for the nuclear disaster as well. Unfortunately, I don't want to have another nuclear disaster in my region, especially my home regions of region. But we should be prepared as well. We had before the Chernobyl disaster. We know what can happen and how it influence later for our community, for like our country, and how the area will be dirty and not useful for thousands of years, like hundreds of years, so like something like that. So, but it's we all should be prepared, like for this and like for nuclear disaster, because all the time, the war become more expensive, and they're more brutal, and what I see, that Russia is not care about the losses, and they not care about Ukraine itself. So what can happen?
Yeah.
So this is like our operation would look like. So sometimes it was not easy to move in a boat because nobody want to take you in a boat, because maybe they took only one person in a boat, because you take a space for the people who need to be evacuated, but to take a picture itself, it's as well a responsibility. And the moving by rubber boats in that area was so dangerous, because it was so many sticks, or wood flooding, and you can easily destroy your boat so easily.
And so how did you get access to this?
Some volunteers, we start speaking to the people. Can you take us? We need to show this, how the area is flooded. And some people accept us. Some people, they said like, yes, let's go. And now we have time to do this. You jump and start to move.
And as a photojournalist, any new very different challenges to be on the water versus on land? That
And I told you,
and is that a new experience for you?
it's a very tricky, because you are now, like, you are moving, like on navigator, like on the streets, but using a boat.
Yeah.
That was like, which street do you need? Like, and we look on navigator, and oh, I know that street. We are looking for that address because someone called that I'm on that address and I need to evacuate. Please evacuate me. And you move in by boat, by the streets, but not by a car, but by boat. Using the same direction as the cars.
So in that context, the way you laugh, the way you smile, are there moments where you're on that boat and you're saying, how did this happen? Like, how am I on a boat? Do you have like a self-reflection in
Yeah,
these moments?
you're moving by the central street, and you can easily touch the ropes of the trolley bus, just very close to you, just
Yeah.
1 meter from the boat, you can easily touch it. Or sometimes you need to put your body down to the boat, because to pass by the trees, because trees were very close to you, so like it was like
Yeah.
sometimes, so. And some guys decided to make a barbecue, here on the just in front of their house all day. And no, listen, like I will not move anywhere. I will stay here. Bring me a cigarettes, so.
I would imagine you probably have a zillion stories of the human condition. Like, there's this guy having a barbecue on that, that space. You got, I mean, in all this craziness, you just have to laugh, right? I mean,
Yes,
or
because you need to
admire his
leave.
courage.
Because you need to leave as well, like
Yeah.
further. So, but yeah, I think it's the normal life of the people and normal spirit sometimes. Not for all, but for the young and crazy people, yes, it's acceptable, I think.
Yes. Yeah. Everything. Survival is
Yeah,
anything.
and you see here like all the market with the church was flooded as well. Like this is the island of her son. And,
That's a football stadium.
yeah, it's a football stadium, and you see how that all the area was flooded. So, but here it's the water mostly going down, but still it's still high.
Mm.
It's evacuation of elderly as well. Like we see later how some houses, were damaged on the like and start moved to one side after this floods. So it was a bit crazy to move, by rubber boat here. We saw like many boats were like destroyed. You can easily, like hit by the fence and make a hole in this rubber. Even some guys did make a hole in a metal boat as well. I'm not telling about the rubber one.
Wow.
And this is non-government side. The non-government side where it's flooded much highly because the level, because the government side was standing more on the hill rather than non-government side is more flat.
Right.
So all the many villages and many towns in non-government side and occupied areas were flooded much highly. And when it was flooded, like all the Russian positions were pulled back to the land, and Ukrainians start to evacuate people from non-government side. Some special forces, some volunteers start who knew the routes, how to move in Dnieper River. They start going to non-government side and to evacuate people from the roof.
Hmm.
And this is the people who came from occupied areas.
Right.
From Kartashenka. And sometimes, Russians remind you that you are in Kherson. So like, and this here they destroyed the house very close to evacuation port where many people were coming by boats, and some of them were injured as well. Just one streets were used like a harbor for bringing people from government control and non-government control. And but here you see that it's a special forces bring people from the left bank of the river, so occupied by Russians. How they, sometimes they're happy that they were evacuated. So because the route itself is very dangerous. And this is Antonivsky Bridge, which were exploded many times by Ukrainian and then destroyed by Russians. In the end, when they were moved to the left bank of the river. But here you see how fast the river and how dangerous it was, to cross to non-government side to take people and bring them back to Kherson.
I'm sure people are going to look at these images and think of when we had the floods in New Orleans, where the towns were just inundated. Unbelievable.
But here as well, it's the front line.
Yeah.
It's a bit different, so
Yeah.
At first day you think everything is good and they then shoot to don't shoot to the city, but later they remind you that you are in Kherson and start to shoot, firing. This is typical Ukrainian. This is Mark, and he was attached to the extra battery to fly a drone over to Kherson, so patrolling. And he took these pictures, Mark, because they not let us to film, but I want to show you Mark pictures because it is important. In one of the days, special forces or the police moved to the occupied areas to evacuate people to the government side, and but they were shot by the sniper fire to the boat, and they killed 3 civilians and injured another 6 of them. And this is of evacuation when the boats arrived, and there was a video we investigated. There was a dead boat, was shot by the Russians, and how they, killing, regular people who want to evacuate. You see that's some of the positions are flooded as well. And of course, all this, Ukrainian forces, you start using the boats to go to take their positions, take it back. This is one of the men who were killed in the boat. So we came to find the funerals, unfortunately for him. So he take cover another lady, and he was 3 bullets come to his back. And this is the aftermath, how many people, don't have any normal homes anymore.
You see the water line there as well.
Exactly. So this is actually far north from Kherson, in one of the villages on Ingulets River, because all the water to the rivers as well. So it's around maybe 50 kilometers on the north from the river. But even here you see how high the water was here.
Yeah.
So for me, all this, I was lucky as well, many times, to find the crews who help us and the volunteers who take us on the boats. And from that side, we were able to take the evidences of these war crimes, so.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, it's still going on, so and now at Kherson, we hear every day they shoot into Kherson, like to different directions, and every day there is some injured or killed, like, unfortunately. I can show you the last one. In Konstantinivka, there was graphic images.
Okay.
I don't know how the YouTube or something like that will, but the images itself are very hard to see. How one of the rockets hit the local market and killed around like 19 people. Many injured as well, like it was around like 30 or 40 injured people. It was really hard images, even for me.
Yeah. And you just happened to be nearby when this happened?
Yes, we were like around like 400 meters from that place, having dinner in the cafe when the rocket hit the market. And this was so brutal. I'd never seen how the people were burning, like, so, and the bodies were burning, so they can and like we came maybe like 15 minutes after, like 15 or 20 minutes after. Everything was fresh, like, and the people were rushing to take people to the hospital, trying to see who is alive and who is injured, who is dead, and everything was so quickly.
So if you could just explain it, I mean, that must be such an incredible thing mentally. You're at the cafe, you hear the explosion, and you immediately jump up to run towards the explosion.
What we actually usually do, so yeah, we usually wait for some time, maybe for not to have a double tap, but as well, like, we need to think about that it could happen twice.
Right.
How it happened, for example, last time with our friend who helped us in Mariupol. He came to the place and was one of the houses were hit by the rocket. And he came to help the people to evacuate them to the hospital. And when the second rocket came, and there he was injured as well. And it always could happen twice or 3 times. But what you can do, you need to go and to see what's going on. So this is part of the job. So you need to go and check, because otherwise, and as well, like, we were lucky that it didn't happen the second time, and the rocket didn't hit the second time, but the images itself were like very hard to see and very hard to edit, and very hard to publish, because it's too many blood and too many deaths. You just need to watch it, so, and of course, when you came, and see the things like this, like, oh, that you think, or maybe it's you're lucky or maybe unlucky, because you need to watch and to look to edit that again and again and again. But here on that picture, you can see how many shrapnel sites, for example, here on the floor and coming here. And later we understood that this was a air defense rocket, so it hit the ground, and that's why they have so many casualties and kill people. And because we have so many volunteers who came or like were nearby, or the soldiers, etc. So that's why like many people like evacuated so fast. But as well, you see how many injured were here and killed.
And after all this time of documenting this, how do you deal with all of this? I understand you must
I don't
document.
want to say that how I do, how like and how all of Ukrainians
Yeah,
do this. No, like I don't know, like I think we and all of us understood that we need to um, live,
yeah,
tomorrow and today after tomorrow, and we need to continue to do our job, uh, to go to buy some products on the market again and again, even it's risky. So what you can do? So this is the way of life, and we need, because our country at war, and we need to do it every day. And how to protect yourself, how to protect your mentally. You need to do, um, you need to work on yourself as well.
yeah.
Yes, this has happened. Yes, this is really bad. But to win on that war, you need to be strong. All of us are tired, but we need to move forward. Otherwise, you will be so depressed. You will be you like you will stuck in your room and will not move. So, but this is the opportunity for all of us. We need to move forward.
But you must. I mean, I'm sure not everyone has your courage and your colleagues' courage and determination and spirit. Uh, so for some people, these events, of course, will live with them and punish them for the rest of their lives.
For sure, for sure. It's like, uh, and I think, like all for all of us, we're all of Ukrainians trying to live, and to build a normal society. But as well, like we're trying to not forget what happened.
Mm.
And what actually I try to do is not let people forget that it's still happening. That happened actually 1 week ago. So only 1 week ago, and it's happened later in Kryvyi Rih and in other towns. You need to move forward. Like the firefighters, they go on their work every day, and any of their calls are different, and we need to do it. So um, we should have a base. Uh, we should speak to the people, and express our feelings of what is going on. But maybe it's my opportunity to show you these images to the society, to my Instagram, for example, followers, and to explain what is going on. Because sometimes the editors, like it's very hard, like to publish them, these images, but on the some platforms it's possible to show that. And we need to show this.
Yeah.
Because it's horrible, but it's happening. And what I have seen and what sometimes people should see, because this is abnormal.
Yeah.
And you know that this is uh, for all of us, you know, like for all of the teams who work in the field, and it's a challenge, you know, how to bring the story which the people will take, the people will, you know, taking care, because as long as it takes, it's hard to involve people in the topic.
Yeah.
Nothing new is happening in Ukraine yet. Nothing new. Every day is rocket attacks. Nothing new. Every day is people killing. Nothing new. And this is everyday reality, unfortunately. Many people can say that, oh, you know, like people are dying in car accidents or by something else. But this is a different topic. This is a different story. And I can show you some images from the rocket attacks on Kiev, how they will look like. This is just from my window, what I'm taking pictures. So this is the Patriot works and hit the Shahed drone over the Kiev.
So with you and your colleagues, it's this relentless determination to just continue to cover this. There is no other option. It's your country.
Um, like if you will be like, for example, uh, if in your country will be a war and you know photography well and you know how to do it, and sometimes we think maybe our work it's cost more than 1,000 bullets and it's not killing people, you know, it's bring attention, and maybe sometimes it can influence, you know, like somehow, and to make it less violent or to stop it for one day, not to do these attacks, and or it will bring justice later. Maybe not now.
Yeah.
But as well to inform people what is true, what is happening.
We must. We must.
And how the people are hiding in the metro, you know, so it's daytime of Kiev attacks, you know, it's not in the middle of the night, just in the daytime. And how the infrastructure, electricity infrastructure was destroyed. Well, and I think that that winter that will happen again, and many of power plants will be destroyed again and again. So I hope not, but we are expecting this, that our electricity infrastructure will be suffering this winter.
In your quiet moments when you speak with your colleagues and your fellow citizens, do they speak about after the war in any way as it relates to how the government will be set up afterwards? I mean, do you speak in about that at all?
You know, of course, we are thinking about how, but and the government should be prepared what will be after the war, because it might be the routes might be prepared already, because when the war will end, you know, you need to do a lot of things, you know, to rebuild your country. You need to rebuild the society. You should have an all instrument and all routes should be prepared for this. Because if you will not have this, that will be a problem.
Hmm. And do you feel that that's sort of we would say percolating, that people in different spaces are thinking about that, how to form the government with less corruption, or whatever it may be. Is that sort of circulating, or is it too early to do that?
I think it's not early to pre-plan. It should be pre-planned now, and when it will happen, you will have all the instruments and all the structure and all the people who will do different type of the job, so like, and all the offices will be set up, so all of the NGOs will work one by one and helping each other, so like, and this is what should happen, but we'll see, it's Ukraine is unpredictable, and the news is unpredictable, and who can predict that Russia will invade Ukraine? So like, nobody. But the war is happening all the time. It's in different part of the world, but this is one of the biggest war since since Vietnam. I think it's over like for the 50 years. One of the hugest operations.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's a long conversation, but I think it's, and how, for example, we did a story about evacuation of the kids from the front line. There is some families who were keeping their kids, small kids, in the frontline cities, in the frontline villages, and for a year they didn't evacuate themselves, but as well they didn't evacuate their kids. And in some places we came and we saw these eyes of these kids. They don't have any reflection. They didn't react normally. And these parents decided not to evacuate them at all. And this was hard to see, how if you're not taking care of your kids or of yourself, you can live here, yeah, at the front line. But why you keeping this young generation, yes, which should go to school, to kindergarten, like to play with other kids, why you keeping them for a year at the front line? And this is like spending around like couple of weeks with a police unit, which is going from one family to another one and trying to changing their minds of their parents to evacuate their kids, because according to the Ukrainian law, they should not move them without their will. So they're using some techniques to influence on their minds, and to push them out from the front line. They have a list of the families, and they move in from one house to another one, to call them, to bring them some food, or to speak to them. You should, and but for some of them, and it doesn't help. It helped when the shell hit your house or very close to you, and then the parents start to react. Then the parents start to think what they hear. Like this lady, the land, and the one shrapnel were come very close to her, like, and that's why he was called and said like, evacuate me now. But for some families, it doesn't help.
Which on some level is is normal. Like everyone has different ways of reasoning, right? They want to be in their home. They have no place to go. This is our home. You know, all of those things. It won't happen to me. So are those folks who are trying to convince them to leave, are they educated in that space on what to say, how to say it, or are they soldiers and saying just pleading with them to leave?
You know, because some people, listening the rumors or listening some other families, oh, it's nothing here. They uh, some bullshit,
Yeah,
and for the people who don't have like didn't done nothing for themselves, but then some of them come back and say like, oh, this is nothing to do there. I would stay here and live in a basement, because in a basement, some of you, they bring you humanitarian aid, they will bring you water and etc. And why should I move?
where am I going? Yeah.
Yeah, if I will go there, no one will bring me humanitarian aid, and there I should find a job and etc. So, and but for some people, but now that Ukraine have a law that all the kids, should be moved out from the front lines, and now the police are doing as well. They kick out all the parents, but as well, like some of them are still hiding their kids in a
And
basement.
yeah, and is there a network when they take the families with the kids, like they have a system set up that you will go here, you will go there? Is it organized? Because everything we've seen over this year plus, everything seems to be organized in so many ways. Is that organized as well that you know of?
So everything is organized, and people knew that they can be evacuated. So in to different parts of the country, you can choose where you want to go. If you want to go abroad, you can. Please, it's your decision. Nobody is. If you wanna, but you should move. Move with your kids just out from the front line. You can live nearby to the nearest city from 50 kilometers, which is much safer. And the artillery is not hitting your house every day, and you don't have the airstrikes every day. Rather than you live in the shelter, in the basement, like a rat. And cooking food on the open fire, don't have water to clean yourself, and etc. So this is the reality of living at the front line.
And I'm sure it takes away resources of the soldiers because now they're taking care of these families, right?
But as well, of course, you need to all the soldiers of these units need to go by dangerous roads, to come to them, to speak to them, and then to move them back. All these operations, that, and that's happened for all of these people. So that's well what's happening as well. Like this family, they don't want to evacuate. This mom don't want to evacuate this young girl. This girl want to be evacuated.
Yeah.
Don't she lived in a basement for a year, and her mom, when we come next time, her mom moved to another place to hide her kid because she don't want to go to other place. She don't want to evacuate.
So is this enough of a problem where you now have Ukrainians bickering? Fighting is probably too strong a word, but bickering with each other. Come, you must go. No, I don't want to. That creates friction of itself.
No, but because all the police explaining, so
Yeah.
you are putting your kids under the danger. So you are breaking the law. and etc. So it should be not like that. Why are you doing this? You know. So, but some of the people are ignoring all of these rules. You know. So, and this girl, you know, Anna, she lived in the basement, for example, till we were like there for a year, and she don't have any possibilities for education, to go to school, even to study online.
Yeah, that's yeah, it's,
No. And this mom, you know, like she's ruining the future of this kid.
right. Yeah, the you know, it seems obvious, but you know, as you go through a war, there's so many other issues that come up, the social issue, the education issue, um, all of that. Yeah.
So I don't want to justice anyone, but it should be not like this, you know.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
this is abnormal. So like what we as well like trying to speak to them, why you're doing this, you know, like this is not okay for to keeping your kid without any education, without uh you know, and especially when the kid want to go, why you holding her
Yeah,
here in this
yeah,
environment?
yeah. And this mom looks like a young woman. I mean, she doesn't look like an elderly woman. She looks
Yeah,
like she's in her 50s or 60s, I would guess. You know?
but this is the reality. So what I
Yeah,
can do, I don't want to justice anyone. This is their decision. So like, and she's responsible of that girl. So, but this is definitely not smart.
yeah. Mm.
This is her bedroom. That family was evacuated. So they have 5 kids. So but they when the mortar hit their yard, they called to the police and they moved them out. This is a success of evacuation.
Right.
So people are crying as well, like they don't want to go. This is the officer, police officer, who was as well injured during some of the operations, you know, as well. With their dogs, babushkas, sisters, and all the families. Can you stop the record? I need to answer. Hello.
I can't. Oh, okay.
Hello. Sorry.
No, no.
Uh,
I will make sure that that is cut out from the recording.
Yes, yes, because sometimes important calls.
Yes. Thank you for doing that. Yeah, for sure. We will edit that out.
So, I would say that, you know, like many, you know, like all the stories which is happening, you know, like in Ukraine is um, it's hard, you know, like to tell, and it's harder nowadays to visualize and bring, you know, like to attention. But as well, like it's a challenge, you know, it's a challenge nowadays. While I'm stuck, you know, like for a couple of months, is not to work in the fields and to do uh, recovery my body from the broken ankle.
So it's an ankle that broke.
Yes, it's my ankle, unfortunately. Yeah.
Mm.
So now I have these tools to move around. So uh it's still a challenge. It's still a challenge, you know, like so yeah.
No, it's you know, I'm sure it's a dopey thing to say, but maybe it's a blessing in a blessing in disguise that you get a chance to relax. You may not think you need it, but you probably do. You know,
But how it's possible, you know, it's that we still have a lot of things to do, you know. And you
Uh,
prepare one thing to do, like, and now everything is canceled.
so,
What can you do else? Like, so you think in 1 month will be the before you're traveling, so you need to do this, and that, and to do like a couple of stories.
right.
And now you can't do anything.
Yeah. The life of a photojournalist. There it is. This is yeah. I mean, I guess is there something else to be doing, administratively, that you can, do something, but maybe it's okay to relax. Maybe it's okay just to, because I like, you're getting your phone calls already, and they're thinking, will you be available in November, right? I mean, that's sort of starting. Whoever, I don't know if you work for Getty or the AP or whomever you work for, I'm sure that that's going to start to come back up.
I just yesterday I was come back from the hospital from the surgery, so like, and now I'm at home and trying to do another part of the business, and to plan the future trips, and to do what you should do next, future meetings, and etc. So it's a lot of things to do, like even
There's always
nowadays,
something.
always something. So,
Thank goodness for that. So I can't tell you how much I appreciate you coming back and speaking to us, and you always have an open platform to come and speak with us, and your colleagues, anyone, that that's a standing offer, because we will not stop. This platform will not stop of getting as much information as we can out there to our network, and because to all the things you're speaking of, there's nothing more important for us. In the smallest thing that we could do is giving it air to for
yeah,
people to
I
know.
think I think it's important, like to speak about Ukraine from different sides, like on different topics, from different views, and but because as well, like journalism, like I see only the small part of this war, but there is many of us, like many journalists, many stories which should be told, and
Yeah,
this is our part of the visual industry, which is the bring um, the photo evidences of these war crimes, or photographs will will remember the history, will take the history uh, in the future. What's happened to us.
yeah. This will all be important for now, 20 years from now, and 200 years from now. It's vital to document it, and that's why what all of you and your colleagues do. There's nothing really more important. There really is nothing. I mean, because if not, then who would know what was going on, right? I mean, we need to know, and this will be the struggles for this nation to build it back, right? What all of those people went through in the markets, and that young woman living in the basement for a year, like you say, like a rat. That's your history, and that's your history to build it back better. So again, I thank you, and you have the last word as always. And again, when you have more information you'd like to share with us, you let me know. And I'll be reaching out always to you, as you know that I do. But I give you the last word.
Mhm. Thank you so much.
So if you have a closing statement you'd like to make, or anything for our viewers, that would be great.
Yeah. So friend, I would say that, like, I think you can cut it here. So and or
Okay.
so I think it was a good opportunity to tell you more about Ukraine and the other stories. So what we did uh, since the beginning of this year, and which events were crucial for us for these elements. Of course, it's not all. It's just a small fraction on what's happened to us. But thanks for your attention.
That's it.
That's yeah. So if you came in a little bit late, we had recorded earlier because he's in Ukraine with the timeline and on and on and on. So yeah, that was recorded earlier. But another powerful presentation from him.
Oh God, for sure.
Thank you, Frank. That was incredible.
Yeah, he's yeah. He
Wow.
now has a broken ankle, so he has to slow down. So like I said, maybe that's a good thing for him for a little while. He would be the last one to say that, but yeah. So and the rest of the week we have a variety of people showing. Tomorrow you'll see some beautiful story on volunteering. Tom does this great trip of going in and out, bringing supplies and people, and very, very interesting stuff. So, again, and I do apologize if anyone didn't hear, but I did give that warning on some of those images were pretty graphic. But yeah, they are, this is war. So if anyone has a comment, or a question that maybe I can answer or somebody else, shoot away, or we'll be around tomorrow. We'll be around all week, doing these and starting at 7:00.
Hey Frank, I couldn't join at the beginning, but I was reminded that Evgeniy was the recipient of the World Photo of the Year, right?
Pulitzer Prize.
Pulitzer.
Yes, he
got the Pulitzer for that. I thought he also got the World Press Photo of the Year. So maybe
he may
that's
have as well. Yeah, and he may have shared both of those with a number of other journalists.
well, the Mariupol one is the World Press Photo. If you look it up, it's the where the missile hit the hospital, and
Yeah.
and the pregnant mother's on the stretcher. That was
Right.
his shot, I think.
Yeah, and a number of other people have that shot as well. A number of other people have that shot because there were a bunch of journalists there. But I will tell you the one thing, in talking to him prior to recording, the mentioning of any of those things are really beside the point for him.
Yeah.
Like, it's almost like he didn't
Incidental.
Yeah, he didn't say it, but you don't have to mention that we won the poll, like that kind of a thing. And I would say, Glenn, I don't know if Glenn is still in, but he knows a lot of photojournalists as well. And modesty is sort of, it runs through their veins. But yes, he and a number of other people have presented have won the Pulitzer. But yeah, he's listening to him, he's very matter of factly, like very much. I have to report this because this is what's going on in my country, and so all of you, don't turn away and you don't forget, and on and on and on. So yeah, he is very, just like I say, a modest young man.
Yep.
Yeah. So yeah, and like I said, we'll be here, presenting all week with a bunch of other photographers. So,
It's amazing, Frank. All these weeks you're doing it, and as many photographers as you have had, they all have a different perspective. I mean, there's not any duplication of what's going on. It's
so
remarkable.
so that's 40 or maybe 50 photographers by now who get 50 human beings discussing anything, and if you're lucky, you get all these different viewpoints of what's going on and how, and different senses of modesty, and they're never terribly over the top excited. They're reporting. They are reporters. That's what they do. They're documentarians. And they give you a little bit of an insight that the other person didn't. None better than the other, but just different.
Right. That I'm not saying one is better.
No, I know. Yeah, I know.
It's just remarkable that we've seen 50 different perspectives.
Yeah. And I realize as I go through this, and I'm contacting this journalist and that journalist. There are so many journalists that I've never heard of who are doing phenomenal work, here, and now they're off, in Morocco and Libya and all these other places documenting other tragedies, and it may end up, like we see already, the Ukrainian issues drop down, but like tonight, that's a Ukrainian, civilian. I mean, that's he's a Ukrainian, so he's going to be there, long after it's paid 17, in the paper. He's going to still be there, and there'll be a number of them there where the other journalists have to go to the next story, right? This is happening here, this is happening there, whatever it may be. So you'll probably end up with a core of journalists who will always be there.
Yeah.
But the question becomes, will we be there? The general public, will we still care? Will we still pay attention? And that's sort of the determining factor of how much the Americans and the Europeans continue to support Ukraine. I mean, it's very complex. All of this, the nuance around it is really, it's fascinating, but it's life and death.
Frank, all this reporting is from the Ukrainian perspective. They're on the defense against Russia, but are they attacking Russia? Are they making an impact on Russian people? Or, I mean,
they're trying to, from what you read, they're trying to, with drones, that have gotten, inside Russian territory. That's one of the big arguments. I mean, without getting into the nuances of the political maneuvering, that's one of the things the Ukrainians want. They want our planes. They want the European planes so that they can fly into Russia, or defend themselves, more thoroughly so that they can own a piece of the sky. That could change the entire dynamic. But there's a lot of things that happen if that happens, right? So we would need Henry Kissinger to give us the nuances of, if that happens, then this could happen, on and on and on. And that's why I guess we do everything we can. But there's a good argument to give them everything they need and everything they want. I mean, but that is way beyond my pay grade to.
It just seems like a one-sided war.
Yeah, the problem, if I may interject for 1 second,
Please.
the problem is that there's a view that if we really engage on that level, that we are complicit, and that's really that's scary.
That's dangerous too,
Yes.
right, Susan?
Yes.
I mean, that becomes really dangerous, and I guess is the only card that Putin can still hold.
Right.
He knows we don't want to go to that level.
Yeah.
Who has the answer to those kinds of questions? Yeah. And I don't know if it pays out to reach out to people in the political sphere to get them on this platform to give us their vision, without it sounding like a prepackaged speech. I don't know.
I think. I'm sorry.
No, go, Susan.
I think given our political situation and what we've got coming up real soon, I think that even a lot of us who are Democrats are kind of loath to throw the boat over because of what we're going to be contending with real soon.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, we've got our own headache, coming right down the pike. To your point, Susan,
Yes.
for depending upon which side of that aisle you sit on, that's a whole other issue.
Yes.
No,
Scary.
Go, Susan.
Yep. Okay.
Yeah, it's
Bad situation.
yeah. So with that, anyone that could make it, and encourage your friends and colleagues to jump in, any night during the week, because we'll be here. We'll start at 7. And I appreciate everyone that constantly comes in, and I appreciate the feedback. and we'll see you. We'll see the rest of you